evening, I am Nisha Charles and I'm your presenter for today. Thank you for joining us for SAT TV News. Among the major developments, family raising funds for child in need of urgent medical attention. Bermuda heads to the polls. Turks and Caicos opposition elects new party leaders. And in sports, a total of 6 teams have already qualified for the quarter-final round of the Division 1 competition. Details of these and other stories after the break. Thank you for staying with us. Now for the details of the news. As part of Cuba CARICOM Day, a panel discussion was held on Friday, December 14th. This event was held under the theme, A True Story of Brotherhood and Regional Cooperation. Environmental Minister Dr. Kenneth Daru says it brings joy to his heart to see the number of professionals in Dominica that were trained in Cuba.
Knowing the number of other professionals trained in Cuba, in Dominica today, the doctors, the nurses, the engineers, technicians, everybody has re-emphasized the tremendous impact that the government and people of Cuba have been and is still making on the human resource capacity of Dominica. And truly this embellishes the theme, A True Story of Brotherhood and Regional Cooperation. And it is on this note that I want to state for the record and publicly recognize the government and people of Cuba who have continued to show in very practical, visible and tangible ways what a wonderful friend they are to the region.
Dr. Daru explained that the reality of the situation is that we are one region. He says the very same issues that confront Cuba are the ones that confront the English-speaking countries within the Caribbean.
Because we are, after all, small island developing states. We share the same time zone for a great part of any calendar year. We are all threatened by the very same storms coming from the Atlantic every year. Where every year we have to redirect much needed funds carried for new developments towards restoration efforts after the storms. We now have to combat the effects of climate change, perhaps the greatest challenge to human survival. A problem that none of us within the Caribbean archipelago had a part in creating, but we stand to face the worst of it.
He added that Cuba and its government have changed the landscape of Dominica, and he used his medical achievements as an example. Dr. Daru says it is because of the opportunities that Cuba has constantly provided to Dominica, he was able to pursue his dreams.
Let us also recognize the initiative of our government and people for having the vision and foresight to establish diplomatic relations with Cuba. As I said before, one of the very best friends our country and the wider region has known in its young life. For a number of years, Cuba has been opening its doors to us and inviting the young, ambitious folks to pursue further studies within institutions. But sadly, for reasons still unexplained to me, we had not been accepting that invitation, and one can only imagine the lost opportunities during that bygone era.
Dr. Daru believes with continued efforts to work with Cuban Embassy, Dominica will move forward. SAT TV News will provide you with an update tomorrow, Tuesday the 18th, with the other panelists. In more news, the CEO of VF Inc., Ms. Val Henry, is asking Caribbean women to take more time out for themselves. This comes as the 5th annual CaribbeanPhenomenal Women's Symposium is scheduled to take place in January 2013. She said women are the healers of the nation, and as such, we need to take proper care of ourselves so that we can take care of others in return.
It allows women to recognize that it is okay to take time for yourself. Because very often as women, we give and we give and we give, and we take very little care of ourselves. So it's about husbands, it's about children, it's about parents, it's about friends, it's about the community. And when you ask women, and if you give them a pie chart and you say, okay, start mapping out for me what percentage of time you spend for home, this, that, work, so on, and you will see in some cases there's 0 on that pie chart, and in some cases it is like less than 10%. And that's not good, because one of the things I say is that we can only give what we have.
Over the years, the CaribbeanPhenomenal Women's Symposium has grown from strength to strength, and now more than ever they are asking women to take that day in January to re-energize themselves to be able to take on the world. Ms. Henry says there are numerous role models for women right here in the Caribbean, and if we were to only hear some of the stories of these women's lives, we would be very humbled. This will also cause us to be more appreciative of life and live it with a greater zeal.
Whatever it is we ourselves aspired for ourselves, irrespective of what circumstances we currently found ourselves, we could in fact still achieve our big dreams. And that in essence, was the motivation behind the symposiums.
Ms. Henry urges women that when they do such things for their workplaces, children, elderly parents and grandparents, and still help in their communities, it is only natural that they want some time for themselves, and that's okay. She says during a 3-month period, one should at least take 3 hours for themselves.
And if we don't take time to replenish ourselves, if we don't take time to nurture ourselves and to kind of be good to ourselves, then there will come a time when we cannot be good to others. What we'll give is not the best. And I think that's one of the things it enables, because it's a Saturday. And you know what Saturdays mean for a typical person, a home in Dominica. That's when we wash, we clean, we iron, we do all sorts of things on the Saturday. And then you're saying to them, on that Saturday, leave everything and come.
So nurture yourselves as women and be the best woman that you can be for yourself, your family, and your community. On Sunday, December 16th, Mr. Heston Charles, host of Sunday Praises, along with the Hilltop Singers, brought some cheer to the inmates at the Dominica State Prison. For the past 4 years, the show has partnered with the Hilltop Singers to go around Dominica preaching the Word of God. They engaged in praise and worship with songs like Thanks, Thanks and Your Presence is Heaven to Me. Bishop Alice Jacobs gave the sermon for the day.
Punishment, suffering, bodily diseases, hunger, persecutions, heavy responsibilities, material loss, mental torment, imprisonment, barrenness, slavery, defeated in war, and captivity. You can go through different kinds of afflictions. Amen?
She says to them that all their afflictions will soon pass, and they should have hope that when they get out of prison, they will be better people in society. Some of the young men even gave their lives to God during the service.
May every soul of God standing here would say, yes, Lord, I want to give my life over to you. Father, Lord, we are claiming victory. We are claiming victory for every soul that is right here in this place. Dear Lord, we are praising you. We are claiming victory, Jesus, over the enemy, over the plans of the enemy. Lord, may every soul standing here, God, confess to you and say, Lord, I want to be your child. I want to be your son. I want to live for you. I want to do the right thing. Thereafter, I'm going to say a word of prayer, and I want you to repeat after me. If you are really sincere in serving God, if you are really sincere in turning your heart over to God, I want you to repeat that prayer. It's a simple prayer, but pray it from your heart. Pray in faith, and if you believe God, just as God changed my life over 40-something years ago, He can do the same for you right now. Dear Lord.
Even the women inmates were part of the praise and worship. The inmates seemed to have an enjoyable time praising God. The inmates even gave testimonies and sang songs.
I know disappointment hurt, sometimes it made me joke, but the truth I know every disappointment, I think that's a blessing, cause I know somebody out there, is a blessing, every disappointment, I think that's a blessing.
One family is appealing to the public to lend their support in raising funds that are needed for a young child who had an emergency surgery on Saturday, December 15th. Father of 7-year-old Ember Lawrence, Mr. Billy Lawrence, the owner of Isle Dive Water Sports, who held a fundraiser for the surgery on Saturday, December 15th, says his daughter is currently in Jamaica where she underwent surgery for a condition known as kidney tubes. Mr. Lawrence says the surgery cost about $15,000 plus another $5,000 for complications that may occur and other miscellaneous expenses. He pointed out that if this surgery was not done now, it would have severely affected his daughter's health in the future. He said after a number of illnesses, which left himself and his wife confused during a doctor's visit in Barbados, they finally found out the condition their daughter was in and immediately sprang into action to raise funds to correct that problem.
What it is the tubes from her kidney to her bladder are warped. They are not straight. They need to be straightened. She could possibly go through next 5-10 years without any major problems, but meanwhile, because the flow from her kidneys is not fast enough, it's creating scarring. So we decided that we're going to try our best to have this operation done now. So we decided to go public with it. And
Mr. Lawrence says this is a birth defect which affects a large number of people, with one of the signs being hypertension, but the blood pressure of a child is rarely checked, so detecting this is very difficult. He said, however, he was fortunate with Ember as she had appendicitis, which resulted in her having high blood pressure, and through testing, the medical condition was detected.
I know some people who have suffered kidney failure at between the ages of 30 and 50. Both kidneys fail, and this is something that has been going on in their lives all from the time they were born, but because it was never detected, damage was constantly being done until finally the kidneys fail. So we are not prepared to take that chance with our daughter. So she's having the surgery now. So it's a corrective surgery. And everything else has been checked. Heart, lungs, liver, intestines, brain, everything has been thoroughly checked. So we believe and we're hopeful that this will be something that she would not have to worry about after the corrective procedure is done.
Mr. Lawrence said the most stressful time so far was when they had no idea what was making their daughter sick. So when they finally found it, it was like some of the weight of the world was lifted off their shoulders.
To me, as her father, I'm positive because it could be worse. And of course, with her moving around the Caribbean, Dominica, Barbados, Jamaica, we're noting that there are many children who are terminally ill, cancer, lungs failing, all kinds of diseases that these children are suffering from. So in a way, we are grateful that this so far seems to be just this corrective procedure. So only time will tell, and we're hoping by the grace of God that nothing else happens after that.
Being the father of 4 children, this is the first time he is going through such a situation, and besides regular illnesses, the other 3 children are healthy. He said the fundraising drive started on Facebook, where they received a lot of support from family, friends, and businesses, but they have to continue to make their target of $20,000 to take care of everything. People wishing to donate funds to the cause can contact Mr. Billy Lawrence on telephone number 440-3483 or contact him on I'll-Dive's Twitter and Facebook page or visit www.i'lldive.com. A special thanks goes out to all those who have donated and will be donating cash. We now go to Larry for a report.
Select tourism officials and media personnel received a special tour as they were welcomed aboard the MSC Poesia cruise ship for its inaugural call to Dominica. This inaugural call took place on Monday, December 17th at the Roseau cruise ship berth, where the traditional plaque handing over ceremony took place. Minister of Tourism and Legal Affairs Honorable Ian Douglas, who was part of the tourism officials who welcomed the ship to Dominica, used the opportunity to sell Dominica's natural attributes. In doing so, he highlighted the fact that it is much easier for cruise ship visitors to visit the Trafalgar Falls, as there have been organized stores set up which are exclusive to the site, in addition to the beauty of hiking along one of the many segments of the Waitikobuli National Trail.
We also have one of the last indigenous people in the Caribbean, and certainly in our region, living in Dominica, our Kalinago people, who were the first settlers of the island, really, and we have been able to preserve their culture and their heritage, their way of life, the way that they live, the way that they cook, the way that they interact. Some of their language and their words are still preserved, and it's really an education to really interact with the Kalinago people.
Mr. Douglas says this inaugural call is a positive move for the tourism industry of Dominica and promised to keep working closely with the management team of the ship to try to get it to make more calls to Dominica. He says this is why the government has been spending millions of dollars to rehabilitate many of the roads that lead up to the natural sites, as they know how important they are and need to do their best to improve the tourism industry. Communications Manager of HHG Research IGA, Ms. Kira Thompson-Ed, says this is the only call the ship will be making to Dominica during this tourist season, which was made possible thanks to the hard work of Mr. Gary Ed of HHV Research and Company Limited. She said if it was not for Mr. Ed's non-stop lobbying in 2011 when he met with the ship's manager for the ship to include Dominica in its port of calls, this would not have been possible.
Their only call to Dominica this season has brought us over 600 passengers in organized tours. However, being on the bayfront this morning, it looks like that we've got many more in terms of private tours, which is great for the island. With a complement of over 2,516 passengers and 990 crew. It's a great pleasure to have you all here with us at the port. I'm sorry that it's a rainy day, but that's why we have so many shades of green.
Chief Executive Officer of the Dominica Air and Seaport Authority, DASPA, Mr. Benoit Bardwell, pointed out that he is extremely pleased with this ship's inaugural call, as its visitors will get to experience all Dominica has to offer. He said that once cruise passengers love Dominica's natural beauty, the chance of it making more calls to Dominica will be significantly higher. The ship's captain, Mr. Francesco Viniero, stated that he is happy that they made this trip to Dominica.
This is a very warm welcome on board. The story of the MSC started on the 1975 with the MSC Cargo. In this moment, the MSC have in the world about 400 cargo vessels, big cargo vessels. But in same times, the owner, Mr. Ponte, gave to us this opportunity for live in the cruise vessel. For me, it's a big honor, really, because I started my work on the cargo vessel, and in 2000, the owner chose me for this type of the vessel. This is MSC Poesia, you know. This one was built in the Saint-Nazaire in France, and was delivered to our company in 2008. This ship has the capacity about 3,200 passengers, and we have on board in this moment 918 crew members. This is just for giving the good service. But I would give again, really thanks for this, your investment, for give us the opportunity to do docking today in Dominica. And
he added he hopes in the future he can bring more cruise passengers to the country. The ship is 963 feet long with a gross registered tonnage of 93,330, while the passenger capacity is 2,550 with 987 crew members. From Dominica, the ship sails to St. Martin. This is Larry LaRocque aboard the MSC Poesia reporting for SAT TV News.
Thank you, Larry, for that report. And December 15th marked a very significant day in the diplomatic relationship between Dominica and Venezuela. 8 years ago, the Bolivarian Alliance for the People of Our Americas, ALBA, an international cooperation organization based on the ideal of social, political, and economic integration between the countries of Latin America and the Caribbean, was formed. As a result of this, and in solidarity with President Chavez, the Venezuelan embassy held a special ceremony at the Simon Bolivar Square in Goodwill. Trade unionist Mr. Leo Bernard Nicholas was happy to speak on behalf of all trade unionists, especially Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez.
President Chavez is, in my mind, the most outstanding president of Venezuela, who have done the most significant acts of camaraderie than any of the other presidents. Notwithstanding, they have done quite a bit, but Chavez, Comrade Chavez, we can say, have done a great deal for Dominica. and our relationship with Venezuela, the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, have seen great changes in Dominica as a result of this relationship.
Cuban ambassador to Dominica, Ms. Elena Ramos, expressed a sincere message of solidarity with President Chavez from the government, people, and the Cuban society in Dominica.
Some believe it was an unrealizable dream of Chavez and Fidel. However, many economic and social programs have been carried out in our countries thanks to ALBA during these 8 years. We, at the Bolivar Plaza of Dominica, also celebrate this important event while remember the decisive role played by Commander Hugo Chavez in this alliance, real example of integration and solidarity between our countries, regardless of their size and economic power.
The celebrations were dampened by news of Chavez's surgery in Cuba, which lasted 6 hours and was his 4th operation in 8 months. Along with expressing solidarity with President Chavez in his time of recovery, Honorable Alvin Bernard, Minister of State in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, says it was a time to recognize the resurgence of the objectives of the Cartagena Manifesto.
Petro-Caribbean ALBA is what gives life to the relationship between Dominica and Venezuela. The objectives, as we've been told many times before, is the one, liberation, economic and social integration of the members of ALBA in this hemisphere. So those, I think, are the 2 reasons why we're here this morning, and the government of Dominica would like to identify itself with this occasion.
Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit is in Caracas for a special event in commemoration of the Cartagena Manifesto and the creation of ALBA. Acting Prime Minister Dr. Colin McIntyre, Public Works Minister Raymond Blackmore, Culture Minister Justina Charles, OEC's Ambassador Felix Gregoire, and other members of the diplomatic corps attended the ceremony. And the La Plaine Youth Sports Academy, the LYSA, held their 3rd awards night on Saturday, December 15th, under the theme Working Together to Enhance Our Future. This was all done in an effort to congratulate and recognize those who have contributed and participated to making LYSA Awards night as well as the anniversary a reality. LYSA's president, Mr. Derek Lestrade, says when the academy started off, it was a non-profit organization.
Among our disappointments was the continued non-playable state of our playing field. During the year, the executive of the La Plaine Youth Sports Academy has tried its utmost towards the restoration of the field. In so doing, LYSA initiated meetings with the Village Council, Dominica Football Association, the parliamentary representative, and other sports stakeholders to plot a way forward for the restoration of the field. To this day, the field is still not playable.
Mr. Lestrade added that due to the deplorable state of the La Plaine playing field, they were unable to continue its routine football program.
The preparation for games and teams we utilized. In preparation for games, the team utilized the Rivière Civic, Casabus, Grand Bay fields for training and friendlies. Summer program. This year's summer program collided with the French exchange program, and therefore it was not successful. This year's program was geared at providing the participants with lectures from state prison officials, senior police officers, the health team, and sports officials.
The team participated in the Rivière Civic Football League, and according to their president, they performed incredibly well.
The team competed against the top teams from the Southeast communities and performed creditably. LYSA team captured the most disciplined team award, and Captain Oshima Jajak emerged as the team MVP. Put your hands together for the team. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the same team who competed in Guadeloupe among semi-professional teams and came out 6 out of 12. Put your hands together for them, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our second phase of senior guys. And what we are trying to do is to keep the guys together as a team.
Here are some of the participants receiving their awards.
Mr. Hakim Kobe.
LYSA encourages the public's continued support and involvement in the various activities and that they continue to work together to enhance the Academy and the children's future. And Craig Corcoran and Samara Webb appeared before Magistrate Evelina Baptist in court today. The two were charged with possession of cannabis, possession with intent to supply, and cultivation of the said cannabis trees, 13 trees to be exact. They found 27 grams of cannabis in Corcoran's home. Corcoran pleaded guilty to all charges. The court dismissed the charges against Webb for want of prosecution. The facts in the case are that on the 15th of December 2012, a search warrant was issued for Corcoran's residence. Police came to his home that day and he did not allow them entry. They then broke down his door and then showed the search warrant. At that time, Corcoran was seen throwing alleged cannabis at the back of his house, which the police found. They also found cannabis on his kitchen counter and the gas cylinder, even under the counter of the shop that he owns. When asked about the alleged cannabis, he said, "A little weed I have to smoke." They also found 13 cannabis plants in his home. He said that he was growing it for his asthma. Magistrate Evelina Baptist is appalled at the high prevalence of marijuana use in this country and told Corcoran that he should be ashamed of himself for introducing Webb to the substance. She is 12 years his junior. She told Webb that she should be embarrassed and she should think for herself. For cultivation, Corcoran was charged $10,000 to be paid by June the 30th, 2013, or 11 months in prison. For possession with intent to supply, $2,500 to be paid by June the 30th, 2013, or 7 months in prison. There was no separate charge for possession. This has been the local segment of the news. Coming up next, regional highlights.